You'll probably remember from a previous video that Prince Harry lost his court challenge to pay for his own police security whilst he's in the UK, whilst his challenge to overturn the original decision not to provide him such security in the first place is still open to challenge. But those videos threw up a lot of questions about the use of force, whether private security can carry weaponry, and whether it's different in the UK versus the US, and so those are a few things I'm going to talk about in this video. But there's more. If you are interested in the use of self-defense and how to defend yourself, legally I might add, then I'm going to show you a small clip in a moment which might invite you to join us on a weekend training course with both myself, Elite Forces veterans and police trainers, where we will teach you the skills that we teach to the Army, the police and the Elite Forces so you can defend yourself and your loved ones. More about that a little bit later. But first of all, let's talk about the use of force in the first place. There is very broadly, both in the UK and the US, a two-part test. And it differs depending on the situation in the UK, and it differs state to state in the US. However, the broad principle is this. The first principle is that there must be a determination that force was necessary in those circumstances. And secondly, if the use of force has been deemed to be necessary, that the force used was reasonable and justified. One of the things that will help you to understand on the course if you sign up a little bit later in this video. So the first myth to dispel is that some people believe that private security can carry any kind of weaponry in the UK whatsoever. The short answer is they cannot. They cannot carry batons, they cannot carry pepper spray, they cannot carry tasers, and they certainly cannot carry firearms. Now, firearms have very strict legislation in the UK. You might want to check out my video on replica or imitation and realistic imitation firearms in the UK. That video is linked in the description below if you want to go and check that out. Whereas in the United States, as I said, it differs state to state, meaning in some states, security can carry weaponry provided that they've been licensed and trained and certified and so on. But in those cases, any use of such weaponry is then subject to very stringent laws, particularly in the use of deadly force, because in that situation, the security officer would have to demonstrate that they are facing a lethal threat of force against themselves or against somebody else whom they are protecting. But this also leads me back to the UK and a very broad topic of whether or not you can carry any weapon or anything for self-defense whatsoever. Now, the short answer is you cannot, because if it's a weapon and you're carrying it with the intent of causing harm, then it doesn't matter whether it is designed and manufactured or even adapted as a weapon. If you are carrying it with the intent of causing harm with it, then that makes it an offensive weapon because of your intent to cause harm with it. So when you see various websites selling you little devices, even if it's a blade that is yay big and very tiny, if it's a locked blade and it doesn't come within an exemption of a folding pocket knife, then it is a weapon and it's a bladed article, both of which could land you a separate conviction and a separate prison sentence just for the possession, let alone the use of such a weapon against somebody else. So then that leads us back to Harry and what the questions are over his security. Well, my understanding is that in the United States, he's privately funding his own security, but back in the United Kingdom, he presumably wanted police protection because many of the various police units, specially instructed by the Metropolitan Police Service, for example, the Royalist and Specialist Protection Units, they can legally carry weaponry, but of course they are official officers and not part of a private security firm. But another very general question that pops up all the time, particularly in the UK, is what level of force you can use against another person in self-defense. And the ultimate answer to that is even killing somebody could be justified as self-defense if you genuinely believed and the jury accepted the fact that you believe that your life or the life of somebody else was in immediate danger and that the force was necessary and the only reasonable and proportionate force was to kill the person to prevent them from killing you or another. In that narrow circumstance, killing somebody could be justified as self-defense, as in everything else right the way down to just shoving somebody away from you. So, for example, if you are out in the street and somebody is threatening to hurt you and you push them away because you think that's reasonable force to get them out of your immediate vicinity, then that's probably going to be perfectly justified. And then with the escalation of force or the threat of force against you, obviously your proportionate use of force in self-defense could be justified all the way up to lethal force. But if you want to know very much more about the use of force, but not just how to use it, but legally use it and understand a little bit more the legal use of force in self-defense and how to justify those actions, why not join us for our weekend course with the Polearm Academy for a 2-day close quarters combat course linked in the description below. So if you want to learn some close quarters combat self-defense techniques, as well as some weapon handling and weapon drills and even room drills and car extractions, take a look at this clip and sign up below.
Down there. No way. Feel it. It's got to be movement. Because if he's really good and he's trained, he's trying to draw that back. As soon as I move that body, you can't do anything, can you? See what I mean? You're going.
Literally, you're using your hips here to do exactly the same thing, but over your hips. Yep.
If I go down like that, it's got full domination. Yeah? So my feet come straight up, bang. Feel it, your balance is going. Yeah. And the next thing I do is I try to get around, but he's locked me down. I watch. From that, I just take that, walk that round, take that round, and on we go. Yeah, he's there.
So to get out, I need to weaken his grip here on my body. So the way I'm going to do that is by planting this and shoving my hips to open up his hips here. Okay. Yeah? If his arms firmly planted here, that's great, because I have to take that down anyway.
When I take it down, the bang, straight that to be there. Yeah, he's gone. Simple as that. And I reinforce it to move it round, for that to be there. Bang, take him back up.